Good afternoon. It's Thursday, 24th of August, and welcome to day 10 of my 31-day challenge. One third of my way through, and it's been a pretty amazing 10 days. I'm really beginning to get the hang of all this now. So today, I want to look at the whole issue of gender equality. Again, for those of you that live in the United Kingdom, you may have seen that there was a BBC2 programme that's been on. It was on last Wednesday, and last night we had part 2 of the No More Boys or No More Girls and Boys. Now, I think it's been a very interesting programme, and it's looked quite interestingly at some gender issues. I have a bit of an issue with it because the programme it had a subtext that said, "Can kids live without gender?" Well, the thing is that, and here's the kids all sitting up on a beach with the presenter and their teacher, and as you can see, they're not living without gender. They're quite clearly either boys or girls. So the issue that has been addressed with this program isn't about can kids live without gender. It's actually more about the issue, or significantly about the issue, of gender stereotypes. And I think that's the challenge that I've got with the programme, that it's been tackling an issue of gender stereotypes, not the issue of gender. Now, no problem with that. I just have a little concern that it was presented as tackling the issue of gender rather than this. Now, from that point of view, it's done a really good job. I've been really interested in seeing the research that's gone into it. I have a little bit of an issue with the person upon whom most of this work has been based is Professor Gina Rippon at Aston University. And she's been making quite a lot of noise recently because she's come out with some very detailed research, MRI scans and such, and brain research, from which she has said that all of the previous thoughts that there might be any differences between male and female brains is absolute neurotrash. It's absolute rubbish. Scrap all those books that say that there's any difference. There is no significant difference. Now, it's interesting, in all of the interviews with her, she's never actually said there is no difference. What she has said is that there is no significant difference. And the work that's done in Holland, looking at the issues around transgenderism and the differences between male and female brains there, has come up with the same sort of conclusion, that there is no significant difference, but that there is a difference. Now, Gina's argument is that basically all the brains start out exactly the same, and the way in which they are molded by society changes the way they are. So the brain is a very plastic environment, and it changes, and it's society that changes the way we are. That if we were all brought up exactly the same, we would all end up the same. I'm not convinced. Now, the problem is the huge amount of gendering that takes place, and this is really where this program has in some ways shocked us, because what it's done is to look very clearly at the massive amount of gendering that takes place. Now, what we've been doing in this program is they've been looking at children around about the age of 7 and 8. And what we've seen in that program is that those kids have a huge level of gendered bought into the gender stereotypes in a big way. Boys are stronger than girls. They know what boys and girls are supposed to do. They know what sorts of careers boys and girls grow up to. Now, that, to be honest, didn't shock me, because working in this field, it's something I've always been aware of. In fact, there's fairly clear evidence to show that those beliefs, those gendered stereotypes, are actually embedded by about the age of 3 or 4. It is so early on. And yes, it's to do with parents. Yes, it's to do with the kind of toys we buy. And what happened in part 2 of this program, which was quite interesting, was that the presenter went to the parents and persuaded them to bundle up all the gendered toys and get rid of them. Now, in some cases, that was like everything. Some of the girls lived in a complete world of pink, some of the boys in a complete world of blue. Now, in the attempts to try and change all that, one of the challenges I found was that where I could see it was very clear that the mother had fairly comfortably supported and encouraged the young daughter's love of princess costumes, a whole wardrobe full of them, and pink all over the bedroom. The mother of the young boy who liked guns had done everything she could to dissuade him. She wouldn't allow guns in the house. She attempted every way possible to remove them, until eventually the little boy held up his hand and said, "See, I've got a gun and you can't take this one away from me." Now, is that all because of the way he's been socialized? I have two boys. They're quite a lot older now. But when I saw them growing up, it was interesting. One of them was very happy to push a doll around in a pram and was quite nurturing. The other one, Gary, he was much more likely to grab the doll and shoot it through the head with a gun. Now, they were both brought up together. They were both brought up in an environment where there weren't guns around much, didn't have rigidly stop them from doing things, but there was a flexibility. They could have whatever toys they wanted. We encouraged diversity. Now, I know that it isn't just about the parents, it's about TV, it's about schools, it's about all sorts of people changing things. And we saw in this program how difficult it was for the male teacher to stop calling the girls love and sweetie pie and the boys mate and fella. And he's had to work very hard on that, and the kids have got involved in the process of helping him change that. So I can see that definitely schools need to look at this program, because there's no question about it. What is happening in the schools at that age is massively affecting particularly women and the way in which they grow up and the kind of jobs that they will go into. For example, it's been fairly clear within that program that boys' spatial awareness is better than girls. The girls struggled with a tantra puzzle. They finally got the hang of it after more and more practice, and the argument is that because girls don't get given the kind of toys which encourage developing spatial awareness, they end up not practicing it and therefore end up not doing it. The same with football. Girls are quite competent at football, and particularly at that age, there's no difference in terms of strength. The problem is that the boys play football, their role models are all male, it's a big part of the boy culture, and the girls are to a large extent excluded from it, so they don't get a chance to practice. And it was interesting the way in which they got that, began to bring some changes into that. So I can see there's an awful lot of good work from that video in terms of helping kids to tackle the inequalities that are going on, to tackle some of those gender stereotypes and get people to start thinking differently about the kind of jobs that people might go into, getting girls more actively involved in spatial awareness, getting boys more involved. And this is another thing that happened. Boys getting involved in sewing and craft and actually enjoying that, because there wasn't the bullying, there wasn't the pressure going on them to make them feel bad. And that's another part of the problem. We didn't see any issues of how they might tackle bullying. And certainly as the kids get older, I know that there's a huge amount of bullying to push people into conforming to male and female stereotypes. What I think, and when it comes to the toys, here's some of the issues. Here's some of the kind of toys which I've seen around. This is a lot of the talk was about Lego, that boys use a lot of Lego. Well, of course, Lego has now brought out Lego Friends with lots of pink toys, lots of female figurines instead of male ones. And I couldn't believe it when I heard they've simplified the bricks. How can you simplify Lego, for God's sake? But at least getting kids involved in Lego is a way to improve spatial awareness. So then I see this. That's not the right one I want. There we go. Let's bring up another. So now look at this. This was I don't think this is actually available now. It's a cleaning trolley. You'll notice it's all pink. And that's part of the big problem about it, because it's all pink. And right up in the top corner there, I don't know if you can actually see that. We'll just look at there. In the top corner there, can you see girls only? And with the toys that were shown on this particular program last night, this was also happening again. All of the cleaning and the cooking and all of the domestic toys that were actually related to life tended to be coloured pink, with an encouragement that this is what girls would play with, which is crackers, isn't it? That whole thing. Now, the shops have started to tackle this problem. we had lots of issues with the boys' aisles and the girls' aisles, and it was almost impossible for boys particularly to walk down a girls' aisle without the possibility of getting humiliated and laughed at. So shops have now begun to stop this. I think Boots, the chemist, had one issue with this, that they were going to do the boys' toys, girls' toys process, and they had planned to put, well, they did actually put microscopes and chemistry sets and such like in the boys' toys area, until somebody pointed out to them that Boots is the #1 employer of female chemists, and that perhaps that was actually inappropriate for their corporate future. So they've abandoned the idea, and they are basically presenting toys as toys. And there's a great campaign called Let Toys Be Toys. Now, while the shops, I've seen that the Mothercare, Toys R Us, the Entertainer, all these big stores have moved away now strongly from the idea of making their male, boys areas and girls areas. The problem still comes with the toy manufacturers, who are mercilessly producing toys which are so heavily gendered and pushed towards boys or girls, and that's the area where the challenge needs to come. That's where we need to start tackling things. So, where did this program fall down, in my view? Well, you see, when I think of gender, I tend to think of something a little bit different. I'm just going to take a few. I've got a few too many images up on my screen here at the moment, so I need to get a couple of them down. But let's just have a look at this. I'll get rid of Miss Ripon's name there. This is a picture of boys and girls, men and women, dressed in very, very different ways. And there was no sense in the program that it was trying to tackle and deal with those sorts of issues. So, for example, I've got been looking at some of the sort of images in fashion, and if you look at this for a second, these are images of men and women basically modelling fashions. Now, the question is, which are male, which are female? It's quite difficult to be able to work that out, I think, because the clothes are very androgynous. And I wonder what's happening about. There was no evidence to me from that program that they were looking at any children who had an issue about their gender, about whether they were male or whether they felt female. So the topic that wasn't being addressed in the whole program is the issue of gender identity. Now, for me, that's a major problem. So from the age of 7, the age of these children, I was struggling to play with boys, struggling to get on with boys. I was even taken to a child psychiatrist because I couldn't settle and couldn't find myself a comfortable place in being a boy. I was much more preferred to have been with girls, but the social pressure meant that I was excluded from girls' play because I was a boy, because there was that strict divide, boys do this, girls do that. So I wonder what happens then if we've got children in the school who are wanting to express themselves much more significantly as a girl or as a boy, because as we saw from the picture earlier on, there was no sense of them not being boys and girls. It's all about behaviour. It's all about the things that they were allowed to do and the ways they were to behave. It wasn't about the way in which they present themselves. And when we start talking about gender, we need to be looking at that as well. So that's my sense on it, that it's beginning to look at how we can tackle gender behaviour, gender stereotypes in school. And I think if the schools did shift to a point where it was much more comfortable and acceptable for girls to play football, for girls to do spatial toys, for boys to be involved in cooking, for boys to be involved in craft games, it encourages the ability of boys to be able to express a wider range of emotions. It was quite shocking on the program to find that boys could pretty much only express anger. There were a very, very restricted range of emotional expression. And enabling children to be able to express themselves more effectively, to do things which are perceived to be stereotypically male or female without being bullied without being humiliated. That is going to encourage a much more balanced children, and it's going to encourage much more. Well, I think girls moving towards better or more traditionally male jobs, and therefore getting better paid. And perhaps at the same time, if more boys get involved in the traditionally female jobs, they'll help to bring the pay scales up for those jobs which traditionally have quite low pay. The next step beyond that is to start looking at gender identity and how do we cope with children, the very large, and it's a quite large number, probably as many as 10% of children who in some way or another don't fit in with being a boy or being a girl. They want to dress in a different way. They want to express themselves in a different way. As they get older, they find themselves attracted to relationships with same-sex partners. And all of that behavior, again, is part of the process, the problems of them being bullied. And that's also part of gender. It's part of the issue we need to look at overall. So that was just my thoughts. If you haven't seen the program, it's BBC2. It's up on iPlayer at the moment. It's a two-part series called simply No More Girls and Boys. Can Kids Live Without Gender? Strongly recommend it as a program. I think every school should be looking at it. Every school should be considering what they can take from it. But hopefully they'll actually start to look beyond that and see the issues of gender identity as well. So finally, I just wanted to pick up on tomorrow. Tomorrow is a big day for me, a big day for quite a few of us. It's the finally we're going to be running, finally Ladies Go Live is going to be happening. It starts at 2:30 UK time. That's about 11. I think it's about 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, and about 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Ladies Go Live is a day to look at how women are grabbing hold of online live streaming and how women can actually make a difference on this. We're going to be looking at a whole range of different themes on this: business, creativity, inspiration, which is like inspiration and education, and creativity, and the theme that I'm particularly involved in, which is philanthropy. And there we're going to be looking at how you can use live streaming to tackle some of the issues of raising awareness of non-profit organizations, and helping to cut the costs of non-profit organizations, getting more involvement and engagement with the community. We're seeing a huge growth in live streaming at the moment. Why I'm getting involved in doing it, having some fun as well. So please come along and join us. Just go along to ladiesgolive.com. And just register. It's completely free. The whole day there, all these various different streams are going on. So just come along, join us. You will have until Sunday, if you miss the live shows, you'll have until Sunday to be able to get back in and watch the replays. After Sunday, you need a VIP ticket. And I believe those are available for $99 if you want to get access to the program for life and be able to go back into it. This isn't just a one-off thing. Ladies Go Live is something that's going to be going on into the future with a whole range of things planned by helping to improve the ability for women in particular to get on live, to do live streaming, and to reach out more effectively into the community. So I hope to see you there at Ladies Go Live tomorrow. For now, thank you very much for listening in. Thank you for joining me, and have a good day.